Again, welcome back to the last of our 12 chapter series of lectures on water management, the Israeli experience. My name is Yoram Morad. I am the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs at Mashav. As some of you already know, Israel, a semi-arid country, has managed in the last decade to solve its acute water challenges. The secret lies in a holistic, integrative approach to the subject, as you probably understood, those of you that joined us last week for the lecture about the integrative water management. A lot of challenges to confront, and none of them can be neglected. We already spoke about the important role of WASH and water management in difficult times, relating, of course, to the corona crisis we are all confronting. We also learned about water management in agriculture, education regarding ways to reduce water consumption, water harvesting, disruptive and sustainable water technologies, urban water loss reduction, water quality preservation and remediation, water purification and reclamation, desalination, and integrative water resource management. Today, we have the honor to host Mr. Oded Distel, CEO of Tal-Ya Agriculture Solutions and former founder and director of Israel NewTech. Mr. Distel will talk about water tech. Business as usual is not an option. But before giving him the floor, a few technicalities with your permission. The lecture is recorded. It will be uploaded to the YouTube channel of Mashav MATC and will be available there, together with the recordings of our former lectures. It is also available now and later on Facebook Live. Look for the page of Mashav MATC. Regarding questions, please write them down here on the chat option, addressed to everyone. Mr. Distel will answer them at the end of the lecture. The lectures are a joint venture of Mashav MATC, our training center, and this is a very good time to thank for the last time in this series, Ms. Alila Jomchich and Ora Rabin for all the hard work they invest in this program, and Mashav, Israel's international aid agency. Please join us for a 100-second clip on Mashav. After that, promising the lecture. And now, technicalities. Share screen, right?
Yeah.
No, what's happening? Good. And this one.
Yeah.
And
Share.
And share. Now I'll blow it up. No, this one. And let's go.
Mashav, Israel's Agency for International Development Cooperation, was launched 60 years ago to share the know-how and technologies which provided the basis for Israel's own rapid development. Mashav aims to empower those living in poverty in a holistic and innovative way and support fellow nations and communities in their struggle to achieve sustainable development, placing people at the heart of its initiatives. Our agricultural programs use unique techniques and farming methods to increase sustainability, food security, and hunger eradication. We believe that investment in education is an investment in our future and an agent for change around the world. We coordinate Israel's official humanitarian assistance, building medical facilities and supplying medicine in the wake of earthquakes, floods, famine, and other disasters. Mashav promotes innovative entrepreneurship as a means of advancing growth and prosperity. We believe that gender equality and women's empowerment are central to reach sustainable development. Our philosophy is to leave no one behind. During 6 decades, Mashav has trained over 300,000 people from more than 140 countries and has established development projects worldwide. Mashav, Israel's Agency for International Development Cooperation, is celebrating 60 years of sharing its experience and partnering for a better world.
Okay. In a sense, it's kind of like, it's moving for me because I know that this is the last time that I do everything. I repeat the same text, I show the same movie. So maybe I should calm down a little bit, promising myself that probably in the future we will have more lectures online to show. So what's now? Oded Distel, of course. Oded, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Thank you. You may start.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Yoram. Thank you, Mashal, for the opportunity. It's a great pleasure and an honor being here today, speaking with you on probably what is the dearest thing to my heart beside the family. And this is water and the global challenge around water. And I would like just to give you a bit of a background. Until a year ago, I was part of the Israeli government. As Yoram mentioned, I was the founder and director of Israel NewTech, which is a national program headed by the Ministry of Economy. And a year ago, after 23 years in the government, I left the government and moved to the private sector, where now I'm the CEO of a small technological company in the agriculture sector. And I'm mentioning it because I'm going to use those two positions in my career in order to stress and highlight the differences and the different point of views of an official and an entrepreneur in the tech sector. And what does it take in order to move things faster in the right direction? So I will share with you my screen now. Oops, sorry. Okay. Good. Alina, it's so everybody sees? Yes, we're good. Great. So the title of my talk is Business as Usual, and water tech business as usual is not an option. And it's very important from my perspective to highlight this point of the need to change and how important it is and how difficult it is. And basically we have two important statements, the good one and the bad one. So the good news is that things can be done and we are able to address the water challenge. I mean, globally. The bad news is that it takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of changes in order to do that. And, you know, changes are not necessarily always a positive thing, but when it is needed, and definitely the water case, the global water case is where changes are needed, it's a tough mission. And us as individuals, people don't like to change. Same goes with companies, organizations, ministries, governments, states, all those entities from individuals to organizations do not like to change. The tendency is always to stick to business as usual. And it is important for us when we are talking about the need to change, to understand the playground, to understand what needs to be done and where we are. Because if we expect just because it makes sense for things to happen and for organizations and companies and individuals to change, we are going to face big disappointment. But once we understand the reality, the situation, this is when we can navigate and make things properly and reach the destination that we are aiming to. Now, since this is the last presentation or talk in this series that Yoram mentioned, I have the privilege kind of to connect the dots. And I know that over the last 12 sessions, you met wonderful speakers. I know all of them. This is Israel, and basically everybody knows everybody. So I know the speakers, and I'm sure that every one of them went very deeply in his field of expertise. What I will try to do now is a little bit to lift our point of view and wrap it up in order to get a full picture. And again, as Yoram said, and most probably as the previous speaker said, when we are talking about the challenge or the water challenge, we're not talking about something that we have a silver bullet solution. It is always about tackling this challenge from very many different angles, and only by addressing all those points simultaneously and holistically, we are able to reach the change that we need. Which means it is complicated. But again, I come back to the beginning, the positive side, the positive news. It is definitely doable if we are able to connect all the dots and to get all the stakeholders involved, moving in the right direction. Okay. Now I know everybody here on the Zoom, everybody is water people, so you know that water is used for so many things, and not just drinking. But I encourage you, when you speak to public, to kids, to students, use those figures in order to deliver the message to the public on how important water is in every aspect of our lives. And those are just a few examples about food and cars, and we have a number on every pair of jeans or t-shirt that we use. And basically every Google search that we click on our computer or on our iPhone, on our smartphone, takes 5 liters of water. So water is being used everywhere, all aspects of our lives, and this means that we have to be extra careful and extra sensitive on the way we manage this precious resource. Moreover, I also assume that everybody is familiar with the 17 SDGs of the United Nations. And again, once we analyze the 17 SDGs, about 10 are directly connected to water, and most of the additional ones are indirectly connected to water. So even if we take issues like education or gender equality, we know that issues that are related to hygiene, sanitation, the mission to bring water from a distance is many times connected to gender issues. So if we are able to fix the water sector and create the right, healthy, efficient water sector, we contribute dramatically to the issue of gender and equality and education and fairness and on and on and on and on. So again, this is to say how important water is. Now going back to the issue of change and the ability of mankind and people to address the need to change. So we have here this nice €2 coin with the two sides of the same coin. One side says that necessity is the mother of innovation, and this is correct. And when mankind feel that we are under stress, that we simply do not have any other choice, at that point people are very creative and they are willing to go out of the ordinary, to step out of their comfort zone. But the other side of the same coin says, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And this is the notion in ordinary, regular life, regular day-to-day, in our ordinary life. And the problem is that people usually do not perceive the situation as a necessity. And then the tendency is to stick again to business as usual. The problem is that the water sector is suffering for many years and is somewhere on the verge of almost collapsing and influencing in a very dramatic way our lives all over the world. So the need to change, or the urgency, is there. And it is in our hands to make it happen. And this is why it is very important for the water people, and I consider everybody here on this session as water people of the world, to go out and to spread the word and to tell the people that are less informed, less educated, less involved in the water sector, how crucial the situation is and how important is it for us to make the necessary reforms, the necessary changes in order to address the challenges. Now, I want to touch a little bit the different elements that, to my opinion, makes the Israeli case somehow different and in a way a model for other places. And I say it with one sense of pride, because Israel is an arid country that addressed its water challenges. And I wouldn't say addressed, because it's an ongoing effort. Nothing, we're not at the stage where we can relax and say we're good, we have solved our water challenges, we can rest in peace. No, it's an ongoing struggle on a daily basis, and things need to be additional, improved, and be more efficient every day. So, but I want to take some of the elements that made Israel quite special and look at it from a different perspective, the global perspective, and in a way set some points for other places that they can look at it, maybe take some examples, and maybe have an inspiration in order to address their own challenges. So first of all, legal, and again, I know it was discussed here. Everybody is aware that the fact that water owned by the state in Israel, and there's no private ownership. Now, this has to do with the fact that water from day one, when Israel was established as a country, was a national priority. In many other places, water was something that evolved from bottom up, meaning the small village and the little town and maybe the farm and the small factory. Everyone took care of their own water challenges and needs. And this is the way the system was set up and built, bottom up. In the Israeli case, water was set up from the beginning as something that was discussed, planned, and decided on the highest of the country. And this is why, from the beginning, it is organized and set in a different way. So this has to do with legal, with structure, with a very centralized system. Again, in Israel, you have the water authority that many people from the water authority present and previous talked with you, and Mekorot. And again, very centralized organization that controls, manage, plan, and decides on the entire water issues on a global, on a national scale. And then issues of trust, and I'll touch it in a minute. Economy, I think it is crucial to understand that in Israel, every drop of water has a price, and everybody pays for water, including farmers, including everybody in the society. Public awareness, everybody is aware to the fact that water is a precious commodity, and even before this talk today, Uri Shor, the spokesman of the Water Authority, called me and he said, you know, don't just speak about technology, make sure to wrap it up and again highlight how important it is to address the education and public awareness. So I fully agree with him. This is crucial, because if the public is not aware to the fact that how precious and important water is, there's no room for technology to enter. And again, I'll touch it in a few minutes. What does it take in order for the technology to enter the room? And if public awareness is not there, the door is locked, and you cannot bring in these innovative, important, new technologies. So goes with social issues. And again, I maybe we will be able to touch it a little bit more during the Q&A part. But when, and I have participated in many conferences around the world, and there's always this notion of water is a basic human right, and everybody should have access to clean water, and on and on and on. And I agree, it is a basic human right. But if the between the lines, if the target is to say we expect to get water for free, and we are not willing to pay for water, eventually it's going to affect and harm those specific people that were expected to get water for free. And again, I'll show it in a minute with an example from India. And then technology, that I'm going to speak about it in a minute, and agriculture and food security, which COVID-19 brings it up dramatically and put it in the center of the global agenda. But the fact that different states, countries are looking to be self-sufficient in different points of and angles from agriculture and food security means additional stress on water resources. So, and I'm not going to go deep into does it make sense to grow wheat in the middle of the desert, yes or no, I leave it aside. I'm just saying that if the decision is going to go straight ahead doing it, it means we have bigger stress on water resources globally. Okay, now I want to just show one example and to show how irrational the water sector is globally, and this is just one example from India, and I apologize for picking on India. I could put any other place around the world, but I have the figures from India, so I'll share it with you. So basically what you see here is that the water price that people pay goes up from 3 cents, US cents per cubic meter on the first 10 cubic meters, and it goes up to 46 cents when consumption goes up. Till now, everything makes sense, right? This is more or less the chart is very similar in most places around the world. The basic quantities, very cheap price. If you have a private swimming pool, if you have a huge garden and you need large amounts of water, you pay a higher price. Perfect, makes sense. The problem in India, in Delhi and in many other places, is the system is not functioning well, and therefore you do not have 24/7 supply of fresh water to the public. And then what happens is that you have those tankers, either municipal tankers or private tankers. And then the price of water is totally different. And basically, people pay somewhere between $3 and $4, sometimes more than that, in order to get 1 cubic meter of water. Those prices, $3 and $4, are even higher than prices that people pay in the Western world, where income is much higher than in India. And while this is a continuous situation, the reform, the change that I was talking about is obvious. Things have to be addressed. The system has to supply water in good quality to the citizens in a reasonable price that they can afford, that they will pay. And I'm sure that if the citizens in New Delhi were convinced they are going to receive good quality water, they would be willing to pay much higher price than 3 cents, which is totally not covering the cost and has no rationale. Talking a little bit about the technology. Technology and entrepreneurship. So, you know, us as water people, we need to create a sector that will draw in the best, smartest, most talented people. And this is because the sector is so important, as we said in the beginning. It affects every aspect of our life. It is crucial. It's a global challenge. So I can hardly imagine a sector that is so important to mankind globally. Obviously, COVID-19 is now on the top of the global agenda. Fine, assuming that at a certain point, this challenge is going to be solved. The water challenge is here with us and it remains, and we have to address it. And we want to attract the best minds to this sector. The positive side of it is that people want to do something important. And when you have a brilliant guy or a girl in Israel, in India, in the US or Guatemala, doesn't matter. And they have to decide which sector they are going to invest their time and intellectual capabilities. So they might choose going to do something in fintech and calculate and produce some kind of an algorithm that is going to do algo trading. And maybe they are going to make a lot of money. but it is important for people when they come home or, COVID time, they are home. When they speak to their kids, when they speak to their wife or their husband, and they say what they do, and they describe what they did during that day, and I'm sure that everybody that is dealing with water, there is this sense of pride in what you do, because you really do something important, and it doesn't matter if it is irrigation, wastewater, desalination, water management, whatever. But they cannot just take their pride. I mean, the pride is beautiful, it's important, but it has to be also a business sector where those entrepreneurs also going to gain money. And we want to get to the point where those smart guys are going to say, we're going to do water, one, because it is important and because I want to be proud. I want to be proud when I speak to my family on what is my occupation. Second, we want them to be a successful entrepreneurs that are doing a lot of money. It's very important as well. So this is one thing, and in order to do that, the entire sector has to be synchronized on one. We need to open the door to those brilliant guys. We need to let them enter the sector, and this is related to regulators, to policymakers, to politicians, to operators, to journalists, to academia. Everybody must open up and welcome with open hearts those entrepreneurs. Now, let me tell you a little bit about, from my experience, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? So, first thing from a point of view of an entrepreneur is the fact that most day you hear no. So you hear no from investors, you hear no from clients, from strategic clients, from regulators. And you have to keep on with your motivation and energy despite the no. Now, in Israel, you might hear no straightforward, just no. In other places, it might be a little bit more polite, and the no would be kind of wrapped up in a nice way, saying, not now, but maybe in a few months, not now, but next time we have a budget, and on and on and on. But eventually, a no is a no, and you have to deal with it. So my aim is to tell those of you who are in decision positions, be a little bit more open. Try to open your systems to new technologies. The water sector is a very highly regulated, conservative, slow to adapt new technologies. And this is something that we must change. We must change in order to open the door to those brilliant new minds that will come in. Now, the fact that everything is becoming now technological, and we have so much data all over the world in every sector, but we are focusing on our sector. So different elements that were perceived as something that this is the way we do it. For instance, the issue of wastewater treatment plants. For many, many years, the concept was we bring the wastewater all the way to the large wastewater treatment plant, we treat it there, and this is the way it should be done. And including in Israel, this was the concept. Nowadays, when we have so many tools and capabilities in terms of command and control and sensors and communication, we are able to move to much smaller wastewater treatment plants like the one we see here, much closer to the point of use. In the Israeli case, when we do this treatment and reuse in agriculture, it makes even greater sense because the point of use is also closer to the point of generating the wastewater. And we have all the capabilities in terms of supervising those units so that if anything goes wrong, the manager can shut it down, can close, can treat, can do whatever it is needed, and it is not going to have all those high costs in terms of environmental issues that the regulators are so afraid of. So it takes time, but this is the direction. I know that Chezi Bilik talked a lot about detection and water leakage. Again, an amazing sector that a lot of technological innovation capabilities entered recently. And from this picture of a team that is moving around the city trying to detect the leakage and covering, I don't know, a few hundred meters per day in a city that is hundreds of kilometers of pipes, we can use now much smarter, different type of technologies, new concepts of producing water, either from sea, producing water from air. Again, new horizon, new thoughts, new capabilities in order to address this enormous challenge. In terms of agriculture, again, agriculture is huge. It takes globally 70% of the total water consumption. Therefore, improving the way agriculture is using its water a very significant way to address the global water challenge. And here, again, variety of technologies and concepts and using sensors and drones and satellites and on and on and on. And using also much simpler concepts like the company that I joined recently, but this is in another Zoom. So just to wrap it up and leave some time for questions, I want to stress the following, and I'll stop sharing. Yes, I want to stress the following. It's a huge challenge that lies ahead of us as human beings around the world, and it's a common challenge to the Western world and to developing countries in all continents, in America and Africa and Asia and Australia, everywhere. And it's a perfect topic for cooperation between people, between nations, between countries. We have to adopt this holistic approach, meaning not one solution fits all, and we cannot solve with one solution the entire challenge. But the positive thing is it is doable. We just have to make sure that we hold hands, we share a common vision, and we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, wow, Oded, thank you so much. While people are invited to write the questions at the chat, because you were apparently so clear and understood that people didn't even start asking questions. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
Could you, with or without mentioning names of companies, could you elaborate a little bit and give more specific examples for innovations regarding the water sectors coming from Israel that like broaden the mind of and the awareness for possibilities. Like, for example, I saw that you mentioned water from air. There are some ideas like using dialysis in order to purify water to a very high quality. That kind of examples, maybe one from each field of water management. A little bit
Sure.
more.
Okay, so I'll try, and I'll try to be careful, and even the companies that you saw the logos in the presentation, those are just a few examples, and I don't want to highlight one and not the other. There are about, let's say, around 350 water tech companies in Israel. Some of them are well-established, mature companies. A lot of them started from the agricultural sector, companies like Netafim, that I'm sure everybody is familiar with, and others like Amiad and Dorot, and others that are related to water infrastructure, either in agriculture or in urban management and on. And there is a very interesting group of all the young generation of companies that some of them I have mentioned a little bit, and in many cases those companies are related to this revolution of information that occurred in the last several years, and basically is happening in almost in all sectors, including the water sector. So, I'll just take one example from in wastewater. So the idea is that wastewater was always perceived as a burden, and something that you want to get rid of it as fast and as far as possible, and simply not to deal with it anymore. And the shift is that you say wastewater is basically water and waste. Okay, water is important, we need water, and this is, we use it mostly for irrigation, but it can be 100%, it can be totally treated and become, again, drinkable water. And then we remain with waste. And waste usually is mostly organic waste, which means that it has very high energy value. And the new concept is that in wastewater treatment plants, you are going to produce water and create energy, and maybe recover some important materials, but this depends on specific wastewater in every given case. So one very cool, nice Israeli company called MFC did, and they merged, so now the proper name is Fluence, and this is what they do. The concept is how to create, how to shift wastewater treatment plants from energy consumption facilities to energy producers to produce energy instead of consuming energy. And wastewater treatment plants globally, I don't recall exactly the figure, but this sector uses a lot of energy. So if we are able to change it, it is dramatic in the water, but also in the energy sector. Few examples about this water leakage detection. which is very interesting, and I like it because this is a good example of a sector that was very, very low tech kind of, and is shifting to very sophisticated, and you find there different technologies addressing more or less the same challenge, but from totally different angles. So, for instance, one company is doing it through analyzation of the city map from satellite images, which sounds like crazy. How can they know what's going on underground from just analyzing the satellite images? But it happens. This is what they do, and they can detect the leakage of a city without even having the map of the pipes. Another company is doing it by detecting abnormalities in the system through mathematical algorithms. So they analyze constantly what is happening in the system, and whenever they detect something that is happening, immediately they come up and they flash it, and they can spot where this abnormality occurs. Another technology is listening to the system. And by listening and analyzing the sonar sounds of the system, then they can detect where the leakage is. So different technologies with different concepts, and each technology is suitable to different set of elements in every given project. And I'll use your question to say something more. You know, the culture of innovation and of bringing something new to the game in Israel is there. It is happening all the time in different sectors, obviously, including in the water sector. But people are creative all over the world. It's not something that is just in Israel. And this is my message to different water policymakers throughout the world. If you come up and you say, we as a water sector in our municipality, in our state, are open to innovation, we want to see new concepts, then entrepreneurs are going to come, but they have to be convinced that you are committed to this process, that you are there for the long run, and it's not just a nice slogan before election time. And when this happens, you'll find out that there are brilliant people all over the world that would step in and come up with these brilliant solutions.
Okay, before we have gathered a few questions from our listeners, but before that, a few things. To begin with, I would ask, you know, throughout the lectures, we got lots of people listening from Latin America, and they have to be admired because the time now in some parts of Latin America are very early, too early for me to wake up, actually. So we have decided that, in a sense, we have to treat them better. And at the end of the questions, we have here our colleague Evelyn Rosenthal that will have a kind of a message for a Spanish-speaking audience. This is one thing. And me personally, I would like, before looking for questions, I would like to emphasize a few things. To begin with, you know, what you describe, some of it, most of it sounds like, you know, science fiction almost. It's amazing what you can do together with technology and science. But the way I see it, innovation is to begin with, and most importantly, a kind of a mindset of, you know, how do you solve problems? And many of the amazing innovations don't necessarily need huge, amazing technological experience and knowledge and scientific breakthroughs, etc. I mentioned no filtration, for example. It's very simple. They just took something that is already there, that usually the hospitals throw away, the dialysas, and found a new use for that. And it's one of the best purification facilities that you can imagine. Except for minerals, it cleans everything. Another innovation is something like that looks a little bit like pasta, like the fusilli pasta, if you know, the round ones. And it's made of some kind of plastic, I think, or something. But when you put these elements inside the purification systems, it enriches or it makes the whole process much better, much faster, etc. And there are other examples. There's an Israeli NGO, for example, that helps people purify their water in order to make sure that they can drink it. And it needs no electricity, nothing. It just needs a kind of a tube. And then you have to put inside small rocks that need to have a certain size. And after 3 weeks of putting water inside that 3 times a day, it becomes something that can purify water and you can drink it. And the examples are numerous. So in a sense, this is, I think, what excites me the most, not necessarily the innovations that need science and engineering and everything, but the ability to, through the right way of thinking and problem solving, find the solutions that many times are just next to your houses and villages, etc. You just need to understand that in a way they can help you in that. This is my statement. Now, regarding questions, there is a question from Kenya asking about Israeli companies that install drip irrigation systems in Kenya. The answer is, of course, and the answer is, I cannot tell you which ones, I don't have the knowledge, but we have an embassy in Nairobi. And you are more than welcome to contact them and to ask the questions. People in Nairobi are very, very involved in agriculture and in the sustainable development. You're more than welcome to contact them. Now, let's see if there's another question that might be interesting. Oh, wow, this is a very good one. What can an individual do for water management if governments are not inclined to manage the water? So in a sense, if you know that there's no use of waiting for the government to help you, which patterns can you find in order to help yourself?
Okay, so one, I think, being a voice for water preservation is very important, and this is something that everyone can do, starting obviously with your own family and friends, and then spread the word all over society. And you know, it can be from issues of awareness, and then doing small things, close the tap when you wash the dishes, or any other small elements that might sound very small, but when everybody is doing it, it has huge importance. And this society notion, society culture started in Israel from the kids. So when you are able to deliver the message to the young generation, this is the right way to move forward. And you know, governments and ministers, eventually they have to listen. And in many cases, they are afraid to be the initiator and to lead the change because they are afraid from the political price that they might pay. But when they understand that the public is already there and is moving to this direction, they will join in. So I'm saying it's going to be kind of a bottom-up policy instead of top-down, or unless if there is somebody very open-minded and being understand what needs to be done also on the political level, it's obviously even better. But I would say that the public should push the politicians to make the necessary reforms.
Okay, thank you. Another question is very direct, and they want some more information regarding iDripper that you mentioned before.
Sure. I think you have my contacts. I'll be happy to connect whoever wishes with the company. Very cool, brilliant technology, smart irrigation. We'll gladly do that.
Another question is coming from Guatemala regarding private-public water initiatives. Again, what I would suggest is that you will contact the embassy. The embassy in Guatemala, the ambassador over there, used to be the head of the training department at Mashhad. He was actually the one that was managing all the activity in our centers, including MATC. They're very much involved in sustainable development. You're more than welcome to approach them. I would like also to mention one more very important source of information regarding water, especially water tech in Israel. It's called Startup Nation Central Finder.
Right.
Lots of information over there. Of course, they don't give much. They will not tell you which company is better, but then putting the right question over there in the search and looking over, knowing what exactly it is that you're looking for might bring you to very interesting answers. Let's see, what do we have? No, lots of best regards. Yeah.
Yeah, one more element with regards to innovation. Usually when we speak about innovation, the immediate thought goes to technological innovations, and you rightly mentioned that some of those brilliant new technologies are basically simple technologies. But I want also to highlight the innovation elements in public, private partnership, innovation in financial sector, innovation in regulation, innovation in structure, in legal. So innovation is broad concept, and it's something that can be a wonderful tool in order to push forward the necessary changes. So just don't limit yourself. Speaking about innovation, just on technological side, innovation is everywhere.
Okay, good. Another question, they want you to elaborate a little bit more about producing water from air. There's more than one company, more than one in Israel invention, even, and I suppose that there are a few more in the world.
Absolutely. So it's, it makes perfect sense because in the air we have so much water. So it's a logical thought. The need is how do we make it in an economical way. So being cost effective on the energy side mostly, on the machinery and on. And this is the challenge. There are already, as you mentioned, several companies that are doing it. And again, I don't want to go and name specific ones. I would say that it's a technology that it is mature, but I'm sure it's going to improve in the years to come in a way similar to the process that desalination went through. Some years back, desalination cost was about $1 and even more per cubic meter. And once technology improved, now we are getting to 40 something cents per cubic meter, which makes it totally affordable technology in places where it is needed. But it is an affordable, common practice that is used in Israel and in many other places around the world. So I assume water from air is somewhere in this process.
Okay, great. There's a question regarding future activities of Mashab MATC regarding water, courses, etc. We are planning a few. Actually, for this year, I think that we are all settled. Also, because of the message that Evelyn has to give you in a few minutes. What I would suggest, Alina, is that if you can send everybody who's registered some information about the activity of Mashab MATC, including with the presentation of today, etc. Okay, and again, I remind you that this lecture, like the former lectures, are all recorded and you can find them in the YouTube channel. So the information is not getting lost. What else? Okay. Lots of people, Oded, they need to stress their content with your lecture. I mean, people are very happy with the lecture that you had, that you gave. Let's see, I think that we are done here with, whoa, so many questions. Okay, again about training in Mashav. Okay, Alina. No, here's Evelyn. I will give the chair, not the floor now, to Evelyn, and she will talk in Spanish, but it will be for a minute so everybody can check how much of Spanish they can understand. Please.
Okay. Hello to everybody, shalom. First of all, let's do it in English. So first of all, thank you so much to everybody joining us to all these meetings. Well, I will present myself. My name is Evelyn, and I am the Deputy Director of the Center, and also I am in charge of the Spanish department. About the news first of all, from September 8th, in 2 weeks, we want to begin some conferences on water issues, but not only water issues, so it will be water, irrigation, and agricultural development in Spanish for all the friends mainly for the friends in Latin America. But if there is somebody in Vietnam who wants to join us and speak Spanish, please, you are invited. Así que lo voy a repetir en español para los amigos de América Latina y supongo que hay ahí varios conocidos. Vamos a iniciar el 8 de septiembre una serie de conferencias en español sobre agua, irrigación y desarrollo agrícola. Así que nos alegrará verlos en esa ocasión. Me gustaría, I would like really to thank you, Yoram, so much. And well, first of all, Oded, for sure, for today's lecture. But all this group of people working here with this wonderful discussion of water issues once a week. It was a wonderful project. So great, great Yoram, great Alina, great Ora. Thank you so much to you all. See you.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. So actually, this is the last lecture, but it's not the last lecture. Just reminding you that I'm a diplomat and you don't always need to believe a word from a diplomat. No, just joking. Just to show you that we are preparing ourselves for celebration because this is the last lecture. Here's the bottle of wine. I would just like to wrap up and thank from the bottom of my heart Oded for his lecture. I think that for the last lecture, it was fantastic and it wrapped up very nicely, not only the subject of this lecture, but also all the 12 lectures altogether. Because if there's one message that we wanted to bring you, to transmit from us to you, it's that apart from being maybe one of the most important issues in stake in our world, not only regarding sustainable development, but in general, the key is the holistic, the integrative way. So awareness is number one. And the moment that you are aware of the fact that there is a problem that needs to be solved, but there are solutions, and start looking for them and start checking and asking people that you know, like for example, our guys in Mashav MATC, for answers and solutions. Together we can bring the answers. We can start with the answers that do not cost lots of money and continue to a more sophisticated way of solving problems on the way. This is what we have tried to give you during the last 3 months. Actually, we had one lecture every Tuesday. It wasn't easy for us. I think that I can recognize already quite a few faces over here, which shows us that even if we weren't excellent, we did something well, something that urged people to come back every week and to listen to what our experts have to say. Again, we were talking about what we know best, which is the situation in Israel and the way we manage water in Israel, but the message is totally universal, I think. And if we have managed to solve most of our problems out of, like Oded said, out of the necessity to begin with, first and foremost, everybody can do that. And if we can help, this is we are obliged, actually, we are obliged to help the ones in need. So thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. Thank you, Oded. Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Ora. Thank you, Evelyn. And we will start celebrating. See you in the future. Bye-bye and stay in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.